This is my tattoo horror story. So this was for my 19th birthday, I believe. I really wanted like a tiny little crown tattoo on the back of my neck. I saw it on Pinterest and I was like, I need this tattoo. I need it right now. So I messaged my normal tattoo guy and he was already booked for like the next few days, and like I said, I wanted it right then and there, which was a very big mistake looking back at it. And it was a Sunday, so not many tattoo shops were even open in the first place, except for one. I wish I could just out this place. It is literally the most horrible place run by the most horrible people. But anyway, I go in. He told me that he could do it, but it has to be bigger because he can't do something that small. Which I've seen tattoo artists do tiny little tattoos, so that was the first red flag. But I was being impulsive and stubborn and I really wanted that tattoo right then and there, so I said okay. He put the stencil on me and it looked small, it looked good. After having him tattoo my neck for over an hour and a half, I started to get worried. Part 2 of my tattoo horror story. So I was in the tattoo shop for about 2.5 hours. This wasn't because he was tattooing me for 2 hours, but because he kept on taking short breaks. He kept on telling me that he had to take a smoke break. And I was like, okay, that's fine, do what you gotta do. It was only him and another guy working there, nobody else. And every time he would take a smoke break, him and his coworker would go outside. During like the 3rd smoke break that they had, I had to pee, so I went to the bathroom. And when you're coming out of the bathroom, you're able to see outside, like through the window. So I noticed that the guy that was giving me my tattoo had a pill bottle in his hand. I kind of figured it was like Tylenol or something. But he was pouring it into his coworker's hand and he looked mad sus. So I go back and I wait in the room, sitting in the chair. Mind you, my friend was with me. And they took another 10-15 minutes to come back. And the way that I was sitting, my head was kind of like leaning down. So every time he would come back, the door was behind me, so I didn't really have to look at his face. And keep in mind that this was the longest break that he took the whole time. So after we left, my friend told me that that time that he came back, he had white powder all in his nose and he was trying to wipe it off. And my tattoo got infected. This is the reason why everybody thought I dropped out of high school. Over the 4 years of high school, I was probably in school a total of 100 times altogether. And this wasn't because I was lazy, I mean partially, but it was mostly because I had really bad stomach problems. So I always had these doctor's appointments, I was always missing school because my stomach hurt. So then my junior year, since my attendance was really bad, they decided to put me on home instruction. This means that teachers would come to my house for about 2 hours a day, 3 days a week. And my teachers had to bring with them these time slips. For example, saying that they saw me from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And when I was a minor, my dad had to sign it. And when they hand in those time slips, those are the hours they're getting paid for. So I had this one teacher. She was my history teacher, but we would literally just gossip the entire time. She was mad chill. Sometimes, though, she would cancel on me, and sometimes I would cancel on her. But this was my senior year, so I was 18. So I was able to sign the time slips. So I saw her once a month when I was supposed to see her 4 times a month. So every time she came, I signed 4 time slips. I got the credit, she got the check. Story of the time when this woman hit my parked car while I was sitting in it. Fun fact, this story happened 4 hours ago. I went to ShopRite to find more of these little jars. They didn't have them and there are no other stores near me, so I was too lazy to drive more than 10 minutes away. So after I walk out of ShopRite, I sit in my car for a little bit. I was on my phone watching TikToks. And all of a sudden, my car jerked back. And it made me jump because I was so confused. So I look up and it's this elderly woman. And we made eye contact while her car was still touching my car. But then I looked away because I felt really awkward. Then she went in reverse, got out of her car, and started walking towards the shopping carts. And I started freaking out and calling all my friends. And all my friends were telling me to call the police. But first confront this lady. And I don't know why, but I was literally so nervous to just confront this lady. So then I confront her and I'm like, hey, you hit my car. And it left a scuff. And she was like, I thought I felt something. And I was like, ha ha ha. So I called the police, and while we were waiting for the officer to come, we had a really great convo. Everybody, so what I look like right now is the definition of going to sleep at 4 in the morning and waking up at 8 in the morning. So I already DM'd all of the winners of the giveaway that I mentioned in my last video. If you guys won and you're watching this, congratulations and happy Halloween, because I am filming this on Sunday. But without further ado, let's get into today's video. I'm gonna bring you guys up close. There we go. Alright, so if you haven't been here before, most of these story times are sent in by anonymous users. For most of the video, I will be looking in this direction because my mirror's over here and I want to see what I am doing. I do tell these story times in a first person point of view, and that is what it is. Okay, so story time about my boyfriend's crazy ex-girlfriend. We love that for us.
So a little background information, I was 17 at the time and a junior in high school, and I have a boyfriend and we are going to call him Tay. Tay and I have been together for a little over 6 months, and you know, everything was going great, or so I thought, until out of the blue, he just broke up with me. Random as heck. He said it was because his grades weren't great and his mom thought it would be a good idea if we broke up. Real sus, but you know. Well, come to find out, 2 days later, it's because of another girl. And not just any random girl. It was a girl that he had been messing around before he even got with me. Which isn't really a surprise to me because Tay always had this not nice reputation. He was what they called a player and a cheater. Like, he was the guy who was really good looking and would make you feel super special at the time when he wanted to. So, you know, silly old me, I thought that being a bad bitch was enough to keep my man loyal and devoted to me. But of course, I was wrong. But funny enough, it wasn't long before he was messing around with me again. Like, this kid literally was just like, you know, having a field day with seeing how many bitches he could get with at the same time. You know, just the king out here living his best life. Well, the girl that he left me for, we are going to call Missy. At first, this girl had no idea who I was. And she had no idea that Tay and I were still seeing each other. And only that, Missy was like everywhere that we went. Like, sis did not give us a moment alone. Low-key, I don't blame her. But at the same time, for me, it was annoying. Well, to be honest, she was only at our school for a little bit, and it did not take Tay long at all to come crawling back to me and leaving her in the dust. Goodbye. So once she found this out, she transferred back to her school. So at this point, I thought that Tay and I could finally be happy, you know, happily ever after. But of course not. Missy tries to come back into our lives and says that we should all just be friends. Girl, who do you think is falling for that? Well, clearly we did, because we accepted her apology for something she didn't even do, and we were all just friends. And then out of nowhere, she asked us if we can all three do the nasty. Weird as hell. Like, I cannot even tell y'all how annoying and how up our asses she was all the time. And in the mix of all of this, Tay is of course getting kicked out of his house. And he told me that it was because of his grades and him and his mom were arguing a lot. And of course he didn't want to stay at my family's house because my family was too strict and religious. So of course I felt bad and I told my abuela to come and pick me and him up so we can help him figure shit out. Well, I guess he forgot that he had his location tracker on, because later when I went to call him, he didn't answer, so I decided to track his phone. And no, I do not see anything wrong with that, so don't even ask. Well, I track him and it says that he is near the school park. So of course my abuela and I pull up, and of course who do I see? Missy, of course. So I'm pissed off, I get out of the car, Missy and I are arguing at this point, and of course we're arguing over Tay. So I'm like, no, he's coming with me. Well, eventually we had been arguing for a while, and my family saw that I was very upset about the whole situation, so they let Tay stay at our house. So finally he agreed, and my family had him stay in the guest house. Well, a few weeks later, my mom and my dad got into a huge fight after they caught me and Tay doing the nasty. Love that for me. So then they said the best decision was for Tay to go and stay with my grandparents. Well, fast forward, it's April Fool's Day, and I thought it would be funny if I played a prank on one of my friends. So I post on my story saying that I'm pregnant, and I kid you not, 15 minutes later, I see on Missy's story, she's pregnant too. So of course I decide to reach out, say congratulations, and ask who the father is. Because not too long ago, sis was obsessed with my man. But just in the mix of this, I put on my story that I was just kidding because a lot of people were swiping up and asking way too many questions. And then she literally responds and says, oh, you already know who the father is. It's Tay. What? No, I did not know that. And then she proceeds to tell me the real reason why Tay got kicked out of his mom's house. So Tay's mom was kind of strict. She had a rule where no girls were allowed over, unless it was me, of course. And Tay snuck Missy into the house And whenever Tay's mom went upstairs to check on him and make sure that he was doing schoolwork, she caught him and Missy doing a little bit more than just cuddling. Well, I guess sis saw my story and she put up on hers, "I'm not joking, I'm so excited to be a new mother." So obviously I confront Tay, but I still decided to let him stay with my family because I felt bad. Why did I feel bad? Because he was essentially homeless. So then he starts apologizing. So I told him, listen, if you're gonna stay here, we need to get to the bottom of this. So we text one of Missy's friends and we ask if it's true. And they're like, yeah, it's true. Like, Tay better be ready to step up as a father. So then we tell Missy that she needs to take a test in front of us because it's just extremely hard to believe. Because yes, they did use protection. And of course you don't want to at first. I mean, I wouldn't want to either if I was lying. Well, as you would expect, the test comes back negative. And then whenever we leave, she texts him saying that all the other tests that she took came back positive. She doesn't know why this one came back negative. Just like digging herself a deeper hole. Like, sis, stop. It's done. We know. We know. So then she said that she was gonna get an ultrasound. So we were like, okay, if she is telling the truth, then this ultrasound, you know, will prove that. Well, when they get to the hospital, she doesn't want to have Tay in the room. So she tells Tay to go home, of course. And then we all met up. She showed him pictures from the ultrasound with all of her information crossed out. My thing is one, they would not be able to do an ultrasound, I feel like, that early. I mean, I don't know about this stuff. But like, sis, there's not even a baby. There's something that big in your fucking stomach. I mean, in your uterus. So at this point, we all knew that she was lying and it was really pathetic and very embarrassing for her. Well, I guess she got the hint because shortly after this situation, she told us that she didn't want us to be a part of the baby's life, yada, yada, yada. And that Tay would never, ever, ever know his son. Well, eventually, of course, 9 months passed and no baby, as expected. Her cousin said that she never even attended another baby appointment or anything like that. There was no bump. But in the end, Tay decided to do what he does best, which was see other women while we were dating. Missy went on to raise a fake baby in her delusional ass world. And I moved on to better days in a really nice college. So I guess you could say that it all worked out. Okay, everybody, thank you guys for watching today's video. If you guys like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more of me, maybe hit that subscribe button down below. And if you guys want to know when I post my next video, make sure to click that bell. I will be switching my posting schedule over from Monday to Sunday. Also, if you guys want to send in your anonymous story time, make sure to click the link down below. Other than that, I will see you guys next time. Love you.
Story time about how I was almost kidnapped. So a little background information, I was 13 and it was the summer going into 9th grade. I was on a road trip with my family and we needed to stop for some gas. So we stopped at some random gas station and we see this lady get out of her car and walk in. No big deal though. So we're inside and we're waiting in line to use the bathroom. So we were in the front of the line and then that lady was behind us and then there were a few people behind her. So as we're standing in line, she FaceTimes some guy and then she starts pointing the camera at people around the store and she would be like, oh, do you like this? And he would say yes or no. Well, then she points the phone at me and then he goes, yeah, that's the one. And my mom and I were super creeped out about this because she was being super loud and she was taking a really long time at this gas station. So my mom goes into the bathroom and then she starts to talk to me. She starts asking how old I am, where I'm from, and if my mom and I were here with anybody else. Like for part 2. Part 2 about how I was almost kidnapped. So like I said, she starts to talk to me and ask me super personal questions. And I'm being vague about everything that I possibly can be. So I go in, I use the restroom after my mom. We grab some snacks and then she follows us around the whole store. And she didn't even use the bathroom. So we leave the store and we saw the car that she got out of and it was parked right next to our car. When originally it was parked all the way across the parking lot. And I'm guessing the man who she was on FaceTime with was in the car. And he was sitting right where my car door was. So my mom and I decided to walk around a little bit, and this lady is just following behind us the whole time. So we call my dad, who was across the street at another store. We told him about the situation, so he comes and picks us up, and then he sees the car pick the lady up, and they start following us. So then they followed us for about 25 to 30 freaking miles, and then they ended up turning off on some random road. And I have a feeling if my mom and I didn't pay such close attention to what they were doing, I would have been kidnapped and trafficked.
Am I the asshole for cheating on my husband with his brother? Disclaimer, this is not my story time with sending me on Instagram. My husband and I have been married for 3 years, but my husband's always been very boring and kind of bland. The crazy thing is that I was the one that chased him and wanted to be in a relationship. I was 20 years old when we met, and I met him through a friend. He was kind of charming when I first met him, but what I really liked about him was that he was a doctor, he owned 2 houses and a beach house, and he seemed like a really responsible guy. Before him, I only ever met broke guys, so when I met him, I was like, oh my god, this guy could be it. Oh, and the other thing is that he's extremely shy, so he was not about to make a move on me or even talk to me, so I convinced my friend to invite us all out to dinner so that I could get a chance to talk to him. Throughout the entire dinner, he was so shy he basically avoided me. But then after the dinner, he told my friend that he thought I was cute, so I knew that I could win him. After that, we only saw each other at friends' parties, so on one occasion, I decided to just throw myself at him. I kissed him and I waited for his response. He said, thank you. He finally asked me out on a date and it was okay. I could definitely see me living my life with him. Obviously a boring one, but you know, whatever. We were engaged for 6 months and we started living together after that. He basically lets me do whatever I want with his money, and he also helped me open up my own business. So no, I'm not just living off of his dime, okay? Fast forward to quarantine, his brother came to live with us. And this is when things got really complicated. His brother is the total opposite, makes me laugh and we have so much fun together. Like, really good fun. Part 2 is up. Am I the asshole for cheating on my husband with his brother? Disclaimer, this is not my story time with sending me on Instagram. So his brother moved in with us during quarantine. And as soon as he moved in, I was finally laughing and having fun. Like I said, my husband was really boring and shy. So you can imagine, like, even in bed, he was super boring. Like, he never wanted to do it. And if I ever asked him to, he would just say he was tired. So I got really sick of that. When his brother came to live with us, he would make jokes, we would laugh. He basically made me feel alive again. Here's how things went down with him. My husband loves to go golfing with his golfing buddies. So he would leave every single day for like 2 to 3 hours just to do that. So I was pretty much all by myself all day. He would also spend a lot of time where he worked at a hospital. On the other hand, his brother was home all the time. He and I would watch movies. He even started helping me out with my online business. And soon we became really good friends. I would tell him everything. I would even complain about how boring his brother was. One night we decided to have pizza and wine. And between us, we both had 3 bottles. Throughout the movie, we kept laughing. And every time I would just get closer and closer to him. Eventually, I was sitting right next to him. That's when we look at each other and we just started macking on. It was uncontrollable passion and I didn't know how to stop. And we ended up doing it. Part 3 is up. Am I the asshole for cheating on my husband with his brother? Disclaimer, this is not my story time, it's sending me on Instagram. As we were making out on the couch, I just kept thinking how much better my life would be with him, as opposed to his boring brother. One thing led to another and we ended up doing it. And it was magical. And then every single day after that, we would kind of just smile at each other. When my husband was at home, he would steal kisses from me. If I was sitting on a chair, he would come by and quickly tickle my shoulder. I was living like a full-on romance novel. Of course, my boring husband didn't even notice. I was suddenly happy all the time. One day I asked my husband if he had noticed the change in me, and he said, "You're being silly. What are you talking about?" And right there, that confirmed that my husband didn't even care that I was suddenly happier. He wasn't even bothering to ask why. Either way, his brother was staying with us until he found his own house. And guess what? He ended up moving in 2 houses away from ours. By the way, he also owns his own businesses, so he's really wealthy. He's tried to convince me to leave his brother, but I don't know. Sometimes I think my husband doesn't really like women, but I'm not sure. I know you guys will think it's easy to just get a divorce, but I don't want to break his heart either. But at the same time, I want to be happy too. What should I do? Help!
Am I the asshole for refusing to let a female student use the bathroom? I know the title makes me look like a major asshole, but hear me out. I, male 46, work at a high school as a PE teacher. Recently, I noticed that a student of mine, let's call her A, stopped participating in class and her excuse would always be the same. She'd say, "Mr. Smith, I'm on my period. Can I please use the bathroom?" This carried on every PE lesson for 1 month when our unit was dancing and I had to give each student a mark. She would leave for 45 minutes and was behind everyone. I had nothing to grade her on and was getting increasingly annoyed. So this time when she asked, I just snapped. I said, "If you're on your period this often, multiple times in 2 months, I think you need medical help."
This girl literally lived a nightmare. A 17-year-old girl was watching TV late at night when her motion detector lights in her driveway suddenly went on. She assumed it was just an animal, so she got up, drew the blinds, and went back to watching TV. Then a little bit later, it happened again. Before she could even react, she looks over and clearly makes out a silhouette of a person right behind the blinds who starts banging aggressively on the window. The girl stands up and goes, "I'm gonna call the cops!" And the figure stops for just a second, sprints to the side door and starts pounding even louder on that, screaming incoherently. The girl runs to the bathroom, barricades herself inside while she waits for the police, and then her worst nightmares come true. She hears glass shatter in the other room. After a few minutes of silence, she opens her door just a crack to get a peek outside, and standing in her living room next to a broken window is some crazy old woman who looks over at her and starts sprinting toward her. The lady comes smashing into the door and starts wailing on it until the police arrive and take her away. She was a lunatic who had escaped her facility.
Storytime about how I dated my 30-year-old teacher when I was only 15. Disclaimer, this is not my storytime. I said on Instagram. When I was 14, my dad got a new job and we moved to a different state. This was terrible for me because I left all of my friends, my family, and my entire life. And I knew that going to a new school at 14 years old was going to be really hard. Basically starting from scratch. I really resented my dad for it, although looking back on it, I was being a total brat. My dad's job was paying him $200,000 a year. And obviously, I didn't recognize this as a good thing. My mom and dad were incredibly happy about this. We got a really big house with a pool, a tennis court, a gym, and my parents were the happiest I'd ever seen them. But this upset me even more. So me being a bratty teenager, I decided to make their lives impossible. I started staying out late even though I didn't have friends. And when I started making friends at this new school, I befriended the wrong ones. I even started drinking. My drama class was the only one that I ever looked forward to and really had fun in. And this is where I met the guy that would become my boyfriend. The thing was, he was actually really attractive. He felt like another student in the class, and he made sure to be friends with every single student. Because I was new, he made an effort to get to really know me. Of course, looking back, I realized that this was GROOMING. No, I don't want to say the word. And then he would flirt with me and I would flirt back. Part 2 is up.
To meet us at the airport, like for part 3. Part 3 about how my boyfriend proposed to another girl right in front of me. I know this is late, but better late than never. So like I said, we left, I went back to her house, and my boyfriend has the audacity to text me, I'll just meet you guys at the airport. So my best friend's like, what do you want to do? Do you want to go beat him up? Of course I said no, so I told her and her boyfriend to just go to the airport while I figured out what I was going to do, and to not say a word. Which was hard for my best friend because she was confrontational as fuck. I texted my boyfriend saying that I was sick and I just wasn't going to go to the Bahamas with them, when in reality I was packing up our whole house, leaving him with only his clothes and his shoes. So I put all the stuff in storage and I just decided to move back to my mom's house. I can't do that. I already took off a bunch of time because I was sick and for my sister's wedding. So I need the money. So after I tell her I can't go up on Thursday, I would rather go on Friday like we said, she responds with, well, we're going on Thursday and either you can take the day off and join or not. And then I told her, I'm not driving when the whole plan was for you to drive. Like for part 2 about my extremely toxic best friend. So like I said, she tried to talk me into taking off work so that way we could go up on Thursday, but I told her no, I would rather stick with the plan and go up Friday. And then she says, well, you can do that, but we're all going up on Thursday, so you're gonna have to find your own ride. And then I told her, I'm not driving up there. I don't know this place. So at that point, I was like, fuck it. If they leave without me, they live without me. I do not care at this point. And I pretty much said that. If you want to go without me, then go without me. And she called me and she was like, you're being extremely rude. A little background information on Sammy. She was a super selfish, self-centered person. And she has like only child syndrome. Every time we hung out, we had to do what she wanted to do. I was super annoyed about this because I had already planned for this vacation. Meaning I took the time off work. I rearranged my whole schedule. And now I don't really know if I want to be friends with her. What do you guys think? Story time about how my best friend was obsessed with me. And I'm not saying obsessed as in, oh my god, like, you know, she does her hair like me. No, I'm saying in a creepy way. So a little background information. I was 14 and it was the summer before I was going into high school. And I had this best friend who we're gonna call Madison. Now, I met Madison like a month before school ended. She was one of those kids that nobody really liked and nobody wanted to be near. But we were partnered up in this one class and she's actually really funny. So since summer just started, I invited her over to have a sleepover at my house. Everything went well, we were swimming, we watched movies, but my house was in a really wooded area, so if you had certain phone carriers, you wouldn't get any reception. So she asked if she could use my iPad to text her dad, and it was like 11 o'clock at night, so I let her use it, and then we went to sleep. Well, I woke up around 3 in the morning because my phone kept going off, like for part 2. Story time about how my aunt kidnapped my dog. So a little background information, I was 14 and in 8th grade. I had a 4-month-old puppy that I would take care of because since I wanted the dog, my parents were like, you have to take care of him, blah, 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 blah. So I put him in the crate, went to school, came home.
allowed to go to an Olivia Rodrigo concert. So like I said, pretty much somebody was like, hey, I want my money back, and the tickets were no longer there. Mind you, I was already charged in December, and now it's April. So I call my bank and I'm like, hey, like, what the fuck is going on? My money is missing. These people say they don't have it, aka Ticketmaster. And they're like, oh my god, like, we're so sorry. We thought that it was like a fraudulent charge, so we just disputed it. So now, of course, I'm extremely pissed off and upset. So then when they realized they fucked up, they were like, okay, we'll give the money back to them. That's completely fine. And then I called Ticketmaster and I talked to somebody. They said, that's fine. Just let them know at the door that there was a mix-up. And I'm like, okay, but they're not just going to believe me. So can you send me an email saying that's what happened? And right after that, they hung up the call, and I've been trying to get a hold of Ticketmaster ever since, and they haven't been answering. So go check your tickets, and please tag Ticketmaster. Story time about how I saw my boyfriend propose to another girl in front of me. So a little background information. At the time, my boyfriend and I had been together for around 4 years. We had 2 kids together, and our relationship was pretty rocky. Within the first year of us dating, he would cheat on me all the time, and both times that I was pregnant, he would cheat on me also. Now, after I popped out the second kid, our relationship was going pretty well. And if you're wondering why I didn't leave him when he was cheating on me all the time, well, it was mainly because I grew up in a broken home. And remembering how hard it was on me whenever my parents broke up, I didn't want that for them. Well, over the past few months, my boyfriend had been traveling all over the country with his dad, going to meetings and stuff because he was getting ready to take over half the company. Well, fast forward, it's a Thursday, and my boyfriend has a meeting with some associates who flew in from out of state, and later that night we were supposed to get on a flight with our friends to go to the Bahamas. Like for part 2. Part 2 about how my boyfriend literally proposed to another girl right in front of me. So like I said, my boyfriend had a meeting with some associates who flew in from out of town, and that night we were supposed to be on a plane to the Bahamas with our friends. So while he was getting ready for this meeting, I went and I dropped the kids off early, and he went to this meeting, and I drove our luggage over to our friend's house because they were just going to drive us to the airport. So my girlfriend and I are super pumped to go on this trip. So we decided to start drinking early, and we went somewhere to get drinks. She suggests this high-end place because the guy at the bar has a crush on her and always gives her free drinks. So we're sitting there having a really good time drinking at the bar. So while we're sitting there, we hear a bunch of clapping and cheering coming from outside. So us being drunk and nosy, we go out there to see what's going on. And what are the chances I walk out there and my boyfriend is down on one knee in front of another girl? And I'm not very confrontational whenever I drink, so I told my best friend to just take me back to her house. When we got back, it was around 6 p.m. and my boyfriend tells me that he's just